right, good morning. Anybody have to learn the same lesson a few times? Come on, you need some friends, you know. It's like, oh my God, when am I ever going to get this figured out? In fact, I like telling people that, there's some lessons I love learning like 5 or 6 times. It's like somebody said, well, didn't you already learn this? Yeah, but I'm learning it again, right? And so when it comes to your story, there's some large parts of your story where we don't get it the first time. It just takes a while to learn. And so that's really kind of what this whole series is about, is learning that your story, that failure isn't final and God is still doing incredible things. Aren't you glad that God gives you other chances? I was going to say second, but I'm glad it's not just 2. There's a lot. So anyway, as we get started this morning, we're going to talk about choices. Everybody say choices. We all have choices that we get to make, and the choices that you make will determine where your life goes, the direction your life goes. Most of you are probably not old enough to remember a guy by the name of Yogi Berra. Not Yogi Bear, Yogi Berra. And he was a baseball player back in the heyday of baseball, and so Yogi Berra is probably the most quoted athlete in history. Not because he says things that are profound, he just says things that are unique. Things like, it's deja vu all over again. That was Yogi Berra. Or things like, you better cut the pizza into 4 slices. I'm not hungry enough for 6. He says things like, it ain't over till it's over. You probably heard that one before. This is one of my favorites. Baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical. He said, you can observe a lot by watching. Yeah. But the one I'm using today, kind of one of my favorites, is when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Okay? So here's where I'm going with this. You are faced with dozens of decisions every single day, and those decisions will give you multiple options, right? And so the hope is that you don't mess it up too bad, that you make the right decision. So we're faced with this kind of stuff, and I think I'm probably talking to some people that maybe you've chosen the wrong road at least once. Anybody chose the wrong road at least once? And the good news is God doesn't ever let you fail a test. He will give you the same test over and over and over and over. Because God doesn't want you to fail. God wants you to succeed. And so that's part of your story as well. Now, you guys remember when you were in school, the test? I don't know about you, but we hated the essay question. Remember the essay questions? Not the essay, that's not what I mean, where you have to write a whole bunch of stuff out, right? And the other one, the other tests that you hated were fill in the blank. I don't know what the answer is. Our favorite questions. True and false. Got a 50-50 shot, right? Or probably the most common is multiple choice. The fork in the road. So most of the stuff in our life is multiple choice. Matter of fact, the life that you lead today is based on the choices that you made when you came to the fork in the road and decided, here's the direction I'm going to go. So we're faced with tons of decisions. And so we learn these lessons along the way. Maybe some of you even got advice along the way. Here's some wisdom. And you chose, well, I'm going to take this advice or I'm going to ignore the advice. And so those are the lessons you've learned. So the life that you're living today is based on the choices that you made yesterday. Just this kind of stuff. Now over the years, I've heard questions that some people might call philosophical questions. That they call them that. I don't know if I did or not. I mean, just real dumb questions like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Whatever, Depends on if it's breakfast or dinner. I don't know. That was terrible, wasn't it? Why is the grass green? If God made everything, who made God? But see, there's some really serious questions too. The serious question, so if God knows everything, did he know that Adam and Eve would fail? And if he knew that they were going to fail, what was the point? And if God made everything, well, why did he make the devil? Or why does God if he's a good God, why does he let terrible things happen to people? Or if he can do anything, why can't he make me be good? See, these are real questions, so we're just faced with this. Now it's funny that God often gets the blame, but very seldom the credit. Isn't that funny? When things go bad, God, how could you do this? When things go good, like, yeah, I'm good. I got this. Now, so that leads me to Romans chapter 8, verse 29. Here's what the scripture says. I just want you to get this. It says, for those God foreknew. This is important. God knew you before you were born. Your days were set while you were still in your mother's womb. It's a big deal. So God foreknew you. He knew that you were coming. He knew that you were going to be here. He knew about your life. And so now that leads us to the very next part of this. So for those who God foreknew, he also predestined. Everybody say predestined. To be conformed to the likeness of his son. Or to put it this way, God planned on you becoming more and more like Jesus all the time. Let me just make this easy for you. Here's what you already know. Most of you guys already know that you're better than you used to be. Right? And how many guys are better than you used to be? Matter of fact, if you're worse than you used to be, you're not listening. Right? So you're better off. So what that means is you are being conformed. You're being changed to become more and more like Jesus. That's how it works. Okay, now when we use that word predestined, that's where people kind of get weird on that. So they take that word predestined and say, well, just what will be, what will be. It's just, that's God's plan, that's the way it is. And so it must be God's will, this kind of stuff. That's not what predestined means. That's not it at all. What predestined really means is that God has a desired result and a purpose for your life. He's got a plan. Now to explain this, I'm going to make this like really easy. The car that you drive, the manufacturer predestined that car to last at least 100,000 miles. Now, if you drive it like you stole it, or if you played destruction derby in the Walmart parking lot, or if you change the oil about every 75,000 miles or so, then chances of it making its predestined purpose, you're going to have to do a lot of work for it to get there. Okay? So here's what I'm saying for you and I. The choices that we make, when we come to the fork in the road, when we make those choices, that would determine how much we tear it up along the way. Does that make sense, guys? So thinking about this just a little bit, back to Adam and Eve just a little bit. So Adam and Eve, their predestined plan, God's purpose, was for them to live all of eternity in close fellowship with God in the Garden of Eden. That was God's predetermined course. But they came to a fork in the road, and they made a foolish choice. Anybody ever make a foolish choice? Okay. And so that foolish choice, it didn't change their destiny, but it did change their journey. I just wonder, has anybody ever got lost on a drive? Now, something as hilarious as men, we don't raise our hand for that. Like, no. We don't get lost. We go exploring. Magellan, baby, you know. And so, now what happens? So it doesn't change the destination, but it certainly changes the journey. And so what happens? Basically, we show up a little bit more worse for the wear. So that's how this works. So that's what Adam and Eve, they made those choices. So what God would do in his mercy to get them back on track, God would take their mistake, their problem, their sin, and he would cover it up with innocence. Now here's the problem that we have. God takes our lives, the mistakes that we made, the poor decisions where we made the wrong decision, taking the wrong fork in the road. He covers us with his innocence. And what happens is when we get out from under the cover, or basically when we do it our own way, then that stain shows back up. And we do dumb stuff. This would be a good time to elbow somebody and say, he's talking to you now. Pay attention, right? And so he covers it with innocence. So understanding this, guys, that even with that, God wants a better solution. So God's cure for the stain was not just simply just to cover us with innocence, but to take away the stains, take away the sins. So that gets us now to John chapter 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world, that's me and you, that he gave his one and only son, that we wouldn't perish because of that stain and that problem, but that we would have everlasting life. Now understanding this, the reason that is essential, it's like, anybody remember the tall Tupperware tumblers? Anybody remember those? I need some friends, you know. Now, if you ever drank grape Kool-Aid out of the Tupperware pump. You guys know. You know where it's going, right? Didn't matter how much you washed that sucker. When you drank milk out of that tumbler, it tastes like grape Kool-Aid, no matter what. Why? Because no matter what you put in it, the stain is still there. It's still got the same flavor. So what God said, okay, instead of that stain still being there, instead of that flavor still being there, how about if I completely take it away? Now that's how salvation works, and because God wants it that way, that act of perfect love changed the direction from destruction back to destiny. Now, here's where this goes with this whole idea. We know that. We understand that. So I'm not questioning whether or not that you're going to heaven. I'm questioning whether you love God or don't love God. That's the wrong question, because I really think that you do. Why? Because you're at least better off than what you were. Even if it's a little bit, we'll take it. It's a little bit better. But see, here's the problem. Even though we know that God has taken it away, that we're saved, oftentimes what happens, we still come to places in our life where we're just not confident that we're making the right choices. Am I talking to the right people? And we still struggle with that. We just hope that we make the right choices because we're just not sure. So I know you guys, you probably wrestle. Anybody ever second guess themselves? Well, I heard from God, and you start to take a step. You go, was that me? Or, I've had people say, well, Pastor, I don't know if it was me or if it was God. And they tell me that, because they tell me they're going to do something dumb. That was you. That was you. But see, oftentimes we just kind of wrestle with the whole idea. So what do we do? So these choices that we make, of course, in any relationship, the choices that we make, that's what fashions our relationship with God, and it fashions our relationship with other people. Now listen close, guys. The choices that we make, the fork in the road that we take, that's what fashions those relationships. Now, anything that gets in between you and God is going to affect that relationship. Anything. Anything that gets between you and somebody that you care about is going to affect that relationship. Well, how do you know that? If somebody has an affair, I'm pretty sure. It's going to mess up the relationship. Oftentimes ending in death. Right? And so basically the whole thing is, and it's not that God is rejecting mankind when we make a mistake, but God is saying, look, if you choose something over me, yeah, it really does hurt. So basically what God's saying is, I want you to get to the place where you know how to make better choices. Doesn't that make sense? And matter of fact, we could probably just end this today and just say, look, guys, all of you people in New Life, this is easy. The challenge for you today, I want you to make better choices. Everybody say, got it? Got it. So, hey, make better choices, good. We ready to go? Now, here's the problem. You don't make better choices. Really, because, aren't you glad that I have so much confidence in you? So I can say, just make better choices. Now, here's the deal. I want you to get this. The honest truth. The choices that we make today are based on the truth that we have today. The truth that we have today is based on our experiences from yesterday. Here's what you guys already know. If you were to make the same decision tomorrow that you made the mistake with today, you could probably make a better decision. So in order to make better decisions, we need more truth. That makes sense? That's the deal. Matter of fact, some of you guys, you're probably not old enough to remember, but I remember when the lunar lander set down on the moon. Anybody remember that? That was a big deal. It's like, wow. You guys don't remember that. You really don't. You don't have to date it, Scott. I mean, But I remember watching, it was just like a really big deal. It was like one small step for man, one giant step for man. You guys remember that start? You probably read it in the history books, I know. But see, here's what I want you to, that was like a super wow moment. But check this out. The car that you drove to church today has at least 10 times the technology as the lunar lander. What? To put it into perspective, that 1990 Ford that you refused to drive because it's a piece of stuff, it's smarter than what the astronauts landed on the moon with. You think, well, man, why didn't they give them better stuff? Why did they have to go to the moon in 1994? That doesn't make any sense. Because that was the best available knowledge of the day. So you and I we make these choices based on the best available knowledge of the day. So in the Old Testament, kings were if you were a king, then your son was the king, and then his son. So basically, they passed that down through generation to generation. So in 2 Chronicles, chapter 29 through 34, there's a list of kings, 4 kings. And of course, they're all related. So the first king is Hezekiah. He took over for his dad. Now, when the Bible talks about these kings, basically it's good guys and bad guys. They were either good king or bad king. So they did what was right in the sight of the Lord, or they did what was wrong in the sight of the Lord. It's just that simple. So Hezekiah takes over, and his dad was one of the bad ones, but Hezekiah is one of the good ones. And you think, okay, good job. But see, here's the problem. Hezekiah, for 4 chapters, keeps waffling back and forth on doing the right thing. Anybody relate to Hezekiah? And what it was, he just wasn't sure if he was doing the right thing. He wasn't sure, okay, God, I don't know if I'm doing this right, whatever. So he just kind of wrestled with that. So Hezekiah's son, Manasseh, takes over for him. Now, Manasseh, he's one of the bad ones, bad guy. But see, something traumatic happens in Manasseh's life, and it turns him back to God. Isn't that how a lot of us got here? Life got really kind of jacked up. You say, boy, I need God to show up, right? And so that's how, so at least his end was better. Now, Manasseh's son, Ammon, he was really bad. Matter of fact, his whole story is 5 verses. 5. I mean, how would you like your whole life to be less than a paragraph? That's jacked up. He was so jacked up, the story ends with his employees killing him. I mean, you might be a bad boss, but if your employees killed you, you were a really bad boss. So he has a really, really young son, and his name is Josiah. So he takes over. So Josiah, he's the one that makes the difference. So here's what it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 34 and verse 1. Here's what it says about Josiah. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king. 8. That's young. And it says, and he reigned in Jerusalem for 31 years. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, one of the good guys, and walked in the ways of his father David, not turning aside to the right or to the left. Now here's the distinction I want to make with this whole idea, okay? All of us are going to come to places in our life where you're faced with multiple choices. It's going to happen all the time. Sometimes the choice is, should I say something or should I keep my mouth shut? Most generally is keep your mouth shut. I just thought I'd just throw that in there, right? Matter of fact, the times I thought I was going to be smart and say something, I said something dumb. Funny how that works, okay? But anyway, so we're faced with these choices. We're going to make these choices all the time. So now here's what I want you to get. The difference between Josiah and all the other kings was the statement at the very end that Josiah didn't turn to the right or to the left. Josiah made the right choice. And when you make the right choice, you don't have to go back and redo stuff. Are you guys getting this now? He made the right choice. And so you think, okay, so how do I make the right choice? How do I get that kind of information? Matter of fact, there's a lot of us that have had that where do you want to go to lunch conversation. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm going to start a fight right now. You guys ready? We're just going to get this over with. The good news is we'll have this fight right here. You can come to the altar, pray through, and go to lunch. Everything will be wonderful. But you have this let's go to lunch conversation. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? And this probably doesn't happen with you, but it happens with other people in other churches. But the conversation is, where do you want to go? And then the answer is, it doesn't matter. You guys see this one coming, right? Okay, how about if we go? I don't want to go there. I thought it didn't matter. Obviously it does. And so it's like, now here's the deal. Now, I don't know how it works with you, but here's how it works with me. Just say it. Just thinking, tell me. Oh, it doesn't really matter. It does. Chances of me being wrong are gigantic. I got 4 stinking choices here. 3 of them are wrong. Bad timing, Rich, bad timing. What you don't know, Richard, I'm going to pay for this later myself. And I'm inviting you over. Three out of the four are wrong. And I don't know which one. I feel like I'm playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets and a 6-shot gun. So here's the deal. How do we know the right choice? How do we get that? What made it to where this guy that is 8 years old, it's not because he's tough. He's a stinking 8-year-old. Hello. It's not that he's smart. He's 8. He can't figure this out. So how does a guy not turn to the right or the left? How does a guy that is 8 years old, that takes over a whole stinking kingdom, how does he get it right every time? If you keep reading in chapter 34, it shows you. Because in chapter 34, all the way down at verse 15, it says that they found the book. They found the book of the truth and said, you know what? If we take the book and we apply the truth, it's going to tell us what God says. And our chances of making the right choice are going to probably work every single time. So what am I saying? That when it comes down to making the right choices, instead of guessing, instead of stabbing around in the dark, let's base it on truth. And I think what happens to a lot of us, a lot of the time, is we're trying to live out our faith on borrowed truth. My mama said, Grandma's praying for me. Pastor Dave said this. I'm not saying don't listen, although I think some people, that's the way that they feel. Here's what I'm saying. You got to have truth inside to battle the lies on the outside. If you don't have truth inside, when the lies start penetrating from the outside, you'll probably, like Adam and Eve, make the decisions that mess you up and make the journey way harder. I found the book. I found the truth. This is how it's supposed to work. We're not supposed to live on borrowed truth. Now, life is going to come to us with tons of decisions to make. You're going to have to make decisions about time and decisions about money and decisions about friends and decisions about what am I going to do here and how do I respond. Decisions about when you're upset, how are you going to deal with that. You're going to have these life-changing decisions every single day. So here's what I'm saying. The ability to make the right decision is a really, really big deal. You guys get that, right? And the stuff that beats us up along the way is when we make those decisions based on faulty truth or borrowed truth. I think that God has a better plan for your life because those whom he foreknew, he predestined to become conformed to be like Jesus. The best way for you to figure that out is to figure out what it looks like to be like Jesus. I'm not telling you have to be a spiritual giant. But here's what I'm saying for you and I. If I put some truth inside, then the lies on the outside aren't going to make me stumble. Okay? We're good there? So what if God would just tell you, right? If you apply truth to the fuzzy areas of your life, I think that things are going to work out much, much easier. Be much more clear. Okay, so let's just finish with this. Anybody ever walk into a room and look for a light switch? I remember when I was a kid, we had the one on the ceiling that had the string hanging down. And we used to play tricks on our mom. By the way, this is wrong. Matter of fact, moms, if your kids do this to you, it's okay to beat them. It's okay. Matter of fact, think about me smiling, just beat them again. But we'd hear mom coming down the hall, so we would reach up and turn out the light. Then we take the string and we swing it. And when she walked in the door, our eyes are kind of adjusted to the darkness just a little bit. We would watch her just go. It was hilarious. And she actually never caught on. But see, I think sometimes that's how our faith looks. We're just kind of literally groping in the darkness. I hope I find what I'm looking for. I hope I figure this out. Everybody ready to what I'm talking about? You know what's scary about that for you and for me? It's the stuff you trip over while you're stumbling through the dark. That hurts you and hurts your relationships and hurts your heart. Could I get you to bow your heads and close your eyes for just a moment, please? I wonder today, if you're sitting here and you're faced with a situation where you honestly have no idea what to do. You don't know how to respond. So I'm not talking about a situation where you just simply say, you know what, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm talking about a situation where there's more than one choice out there, and you are terrified that you might make the right choice. And God, I don't know what to do. Here's what I feel like, but I'm not sure. I'm just really wrestling with this. Am I talking to you? Just simply raise up your hand and put it right back down. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you. It could be relationships. It could be conversations. It could be finances. It could be something where you're just really upset. You could be angry, or you could be heartbroken, whatever it is. But you're just struggling with something. You know what? I know I need to respond. I know I need to do something, but I don't know what to do. If you haven't yet raised your hand, just do that real quick this morning, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you know that you were predestined to be here this morning? Did you know that that was God's plan? Did you know that he foreknew that you were going to show up? Did you know that he knew how to talk to your heart? Did you know that he knows your story and how the next chapter is supposed to go? God doesn't want you stumbling through the dark, looking for the string, hoping you can find it, hoping you can figure it out before you fall. Jesus said, you are the light of the world, a city on a hill. And if the light is hidden, it's hidden from those that are groping through the darkness. You are the light of the world. So here's what I'm saying. God knows how to talk to you and talk to your heart, to shine the light so that you make the perfect decision and you don't have to worry about going back and fixing everything. This morning as we're winding this up and you're just thinking about this, you just feel like God just talked to you this morning. With every head bowed and everybody's eyes closed. And you haven't raised your hand yet, but man, your heart's just racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. If I'm talking to you this morning, just show me a hand, just real fast. Put her up and right back down. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Could I get you to stand this morning, please? Here's what I understand about a conversation like we're having today. I know that most of this is going to be personal responsibility. And the deal is, if you don't put any truth inside of you, you're going to have to battle the lies outside of you all the time. I had a conversation with somebody a while back, and they said, I can't believe they lied to me. Like, wait. So we're talking about somebody that cheated on their wife, that lies to their boss, and you're surprised that they lied to you. I don't think we have an integrity test. I think we have an intelligence test. Here's what I'm saying. You get out there, you're going to face lies all the time. The world around you is going to lie to you. It's going to tell you that you're too broken to be healed. It's going to tell you that it's too far gone to be rescued. It's going to tell you that there's no hope. It's going to tell you that everybody's against you. I want to put some truth inside to battle the lies on the outside. I'm going to have something inside of me that is stronger than the world outside of me. You got to have some truth in you, man. God foreknew you were going to be here today. And he planned on today conforming you in the likeness of Christ.